Hey guys, this is Durtank coming at you with
DJFunk, what up?
and we are bringing you our top 2022 predictions and market outlook. So there's going to be a few different topics we're covering today. We're going to cover the Bitcoin ETH sort of overall market price prediction for Q1. We're also going to talk about our general price action we expect to see throughout 2022 and our prediction there. We'll talk about our opinion on Ohm forks. We're going to talk about ETH DeFi. Then we'll talk about multi-chain DeFi. So DeFi on Fantom, Avalanche, Harmony, Matic, other platforms. Our thoughts about DAOs. And then this is a big one. We'll save it for the end. But DJFunk, I sort of grouped NFTs, GameFi, the Metaverse. So DJFunk, I sort of stuck all those into one big category at the bottom.
I don't know. I feel like eventually they'll separate. There's a lot of different types of NFTs and metaverses and games. So I think eventually, they'll split.
Yeah, and we could probably have come up with two categories and grouped them in like profile picture NFTs, these 10,000 mint NFTs versus, the GameFi metaverse sort of NFTs. All right, let's start at the top though. What we're going to have up on the screen for you is a slide showing you sort of our overall outlook. And we'll talk row by row. So in terms of Bitcoin ETH, the overall market leaders there, in terms of Q1 price action, I'm in the sideways or down in Q1 camp. DJFunk, what about you?
I'm in the sideways camp. I think we're going to chop for a little bit, at least for Q1. I mean, I think it could increase by the end of Q1.
Okay, so you're true neutral. I'm definitely neutral on the side of bearish. Q1 classically has poor price action. At the new year, you have tax season, right? So right now, DJ Funk, we're doing our taxes. We're putting together what we need to pay Uncle Sam. What's going to ultimately happen by come April time is we're going to realize we owe money. So we're going to have to sell some crypto, which usually it drives down the price of these things. So Q1 classically not great. I think we're going into it not with bullish sentiment. The charts certainly look like crap. We can't make higher highs. We're just making lower lows. I mean, we're recently seeing some price recovery, but I feel neutral to bad about certainly Q1 at least. What does the rest of the year look like for you, DJ Funk, though? I know 12 months out in crypto is a lifetime, but what do you picture?
I think that we're still going to have a good year. For me, a lot of the metrics off chain for Bitcoin and Ethereum are bullish. I mean, with Bitcoin, the amount of Bitcoin available on exchanges has been steadily going down. So there could be a supply shock, as well as, I don't know if you saw yesterday, but Saylor bought more Bitcoin. So, I mean, he's buying the dip.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is a dip, and I got to look it back up, but his average price now is around a little under 40K, right?
Yeah, I think it's like 35K is the average price he has.
Yeah. And I could easily see us nearing that again next year. Like in my prediction, is just that there's not a lot of new money entering the market. It's sort of unclear where the new money would be coming from next year. We need a little cool down period. I think at best we chop around in a giant range for Bitcoin. I'm talking, this 35 to 50 number. I will feel good about a strong break above, 53, 55, something like that. Then I'll feel like, sure, I can risk back on a little more. But until then, I'm just going to try to play the range. And I think right now we're in the middle of this giant range that if I had to bet, Bitcoin is going to spend most of next year in. And at this point, I kind of view ETH similarly coupled with that. And I picture this like 3 to 4K range. Maybe we get a little below 2,800, something like that. But I expect overall ranginess next year. And what that means for other alts, specifically L1s, I think that's yet to be seen. I think we could see some upside there. But I think in general for the majors, big range next year. I do not expect huge amounts of potential, huge amounts of upside. I just don't see where the extra money is coming from.
Yeah.
You had mentioned a lot of the centralized exchanges, the outflows, that there's very low liquidity. There's just not a lot of Bitcoin and ETH being stored there. Do you think it's just because a lot of that trading activity is now taking place on chain and not through these centralized Exchanges?
I think with Ethereum, but with Bitcoin, I mean, there's no decentralized exchange. So I think it's just people just storing Bitcoin in their wallets.
Yep. Yep. All right, let's talk about Ohm forks. DJ Funk, you have any thoughts about Ohm forks going into 2022?
I think Ohm forks are going to have a good year. Right now, they're on the downtrend, but it seems like they want to take up the VC mantle. I don't know if you've seen with time, they're going to be changing a lot of things with time. Today, also, Jade, the Binance fork, is up like 300%. So it had a recovery. I know it went down a lot. I don't know. I think maybe Ohm itself may just go down. I don't know what their specific plan is. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Ohm at least has sort of this like bonds as a service, and Ohm has gotten real close to its, what do they call it? Its collateralized ratio.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Ohm is the market leader. It has this bonding activity. If you're going to be in any of them, probably the most sustainable is Ohm. But these things are really like just Ponzi's with interesting wrappers on them, and they may bootstrap themselves out of being Ponzi's, like Time's push to become a DAO, the integration that it's going to have in the whole Daniel ecosystem. Maybe it will transcend the Ponzi that these Ohm forks are, but like you're constantly being diluted in these things as they rebase. People feel like it's huge APRs, but the truth is it's just like the people not in early are getting less of that. So like it's just advantageous for the people in earlier to sort of slowly dump as the rebases occur. Like I generally think this is not the style of trading that I like. I like to get into a coin, farm it, sort of take the revenue that the protocol is willing to generate. And this is like very, very PvP, right? Like it's all about you trying to get more rebases and more time in versus like timing the bonding process, which will give you more money than possibly the rebases when you can do these things more than the other people, because it's all about just like outracing the dilution. And that's just not my game. I think generally people will start to realize that more. Some will survive Ohm time, but the rest of them, like, I think they're all going to fade away. Just my prediction.
Yeah.
All right. What about DeFi through ETH, not necessarily the other chains?
I think it's still going to do really well. I mean, a lot of the major innovations come on Ethereum, so I think that's going to continue to be the case next year. They'll probably have some more innovative financial tools. It seems like a lot of the chains copy what Ethereum's doing. So it is definitely the leader when it comes to that.
Yeah, I hear that. And I agree. All the innovation, I think, will take place on ETH. But I think the tokenomics of coins coming out on ETH will stay stagnant. Like Balancer, Comp, Maker, like any of these DeFi protocols that are choosing to only live on ETH, I think they stay pretty stagnant. I mean, I did well, man, and I still feel like I can't transact on ETH. I just can't stomach. Yeah, I just can't stomach the multiple $100 fees. So I think
you do have Uniswap moving to Matic. So I mean, you may see more of that innovation start on Matic.
Yep. And I think those protocols that are willing to go multi-chain are going to have a far better future. I think multi-chain certainly is the way. I think ETH will become this, it's like you're trading the security by going to some of these more centralized chains, the way their validation happens at the cost of the fees, which users have shown they're fine with. They're willing to transact on a more centralized chain to forgo the huge ETH fees. And I think we'll see an ebb and flow, but like generally until ETH can figure that out, I feel sideways about any sort of ETH maxi DeFi coins.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I think multi-chain, those projects that try and expand to multiple chains are going to be the most successful. I mean, that's why I'm so bullish on Jewel and DeFi Kingdoms, because they're trying to have the game encompass multiple chains, not just one.
Yep. Yep, I completely agree. And that brings us into our next topic of multi-chain DeFi. This is one of the few that we've totally aligned on, which we're saying up in price this next year. We really like a bunch of the EVM chains. We really like the things you're able to do at such a cheap price. We really like the GameFi, Metaverse tokens and things like that. So we've talked about Jewel a lot. Are there any other projects you're looking into in 2022 in terms of multi-chain DeFi?
Not in terms of multi-chain DeFi. I have looked at other GameFi stuff, but mostly I've just been focusing on Jewel, and I've just been playing the game basically with using my heroes and yield farming. I mean, they just had a mining release for gold, and then the Jewel mining was delayed, which I kind of expected that. Just because it's such a large contract, and I mean it holds all of that locked jewels, so they want to make sure that there aren't any problems.
Right. This is the biggest one to screw up if they had to. They screw up gardening a little bit. People don't feel like they own any of the rewards that were going to come from gardening. When they release mining, you feel like that locked jewel is yours. So there's certainly higher risk level that I think they need to account for with this. Let's talk more about that in the NFTs GameFi section for a moment. I'm just going back to the multi-chain DeFi. There are two protocols I'm looking at. Both of them are multi-chain, sort of, and they're interesting in that there's slight variations of what other more popular protocols do. So the first category I have in terms of multi-chain DeFi is balancer pools, or these not 50-50 split pools. So I really like the Beethoven fork, which is a friendly fork on Fantom. I like the balancer is on Matic as well as ETH. But the power in being able to split your funds, not in this 50-50 fashion, but maybe be in a Bitcoin or ETH pool that it's 70% ETH and only 30% dollars or something like that, can really limit that impermanent loss that you get, but also provide high liquidity. So I'm super pro any of these balancer forks, specifically Beethoven on the Fantom network. And then I really like KeyDAO protocol. So it's a variant of what Abracadabra is trying to do in terms of letting you borrow against interest-bearing assets. So in KeyDAO, they work well with Beefy, because Beefy's multi-chain, KeyDAO's trying to be multi-chain, and they'll let you take your stable coin like DAI, and I'm doing this on the Fantom chain. I can put my DAI in a pool, a single-sided on the Scream platform. I can farm 20% interest on that. I could then deposit the Beefy Scream token in the KeyDAO pool. I could borrow MAI against that, which is a stable coin. And then I can pair the MAI up with another stable coin and refarm that on Spooky. So you could sort of stack these pieces to create higher yield by taking these over-collateralized loans out against yourself with these interest-bearing assets. So it's not any of these loans that repay themselves, but it's a loan where the underlying collateral will continue to grow. So your risk of liquidation continues to shrink over time. So those are my two big picks for next year.
Nice.
Before we finish off with more Jewel talk, and any big thoughts about DAOs?
I think we're going to continue to see a rise in DAOs. I mean, the biggest one being time. I think that people are going to realize the amount of power that DAOs have when it comes to investing in the market. And I think we're going to see a bigger rise in them over the course of the year. I mean, especially when it comes to crypto and building communities, that's one of the major things that seems to be successful, is a lot of these coins that are able to build the community and give utility to the community tend to be the most successful. So I think it'll just lead to more DAOs.
So I think there's two things in there. I think there's DAOs as a concept, like a decentralized autonomous organization, and I'm pro DAOs. But a lot of these DAO coins, like on AVAX, you have the Orca Farm DAO that tries to do a stable coin, and like some of these other ones. Are you bullish on DAO coins?
Yes, I think it's going to continue to be successful.
Okay. I'm bullish on DAOs. I'm bearish on DAO coins. And I that puts me in sort of an overall neutral place. Like when you bring up time, I think time is an interesting use case in what they're doing as a DAO, because they're really not a DAO. Like Daniel Siesta,
Right. I mean, it's centralized.
right, he's a figurehead. He's making all the decisions, and then how they've done this vote. They're saying we're a DAO, and they had a vote to appoint this one guy, and I'm blanking on his name.
Sifu.
Sifu, to manage the treasury, right? And I really like this. I think the problem with DAOs and what we're seeing about like the Constitution DAO and some of these other ones are when they're so public, it's really hard to make decisions and get things done, or at least all the information becomes public. Like with Constitution DAO, like the max bid was known because it's how much money they had, because that was all public information. With these other DAOs, like they have these governance votes, and it's hard to pass protocols. It's hard to like facilitate discussion about that. It's all happening through Discord and then like these big vote events. But when you have these DAOs that sort of appoint leadership, this reminds me of how traditional companies sort of have like stock, and with your stock you're delegating that or appointing like a board member who represents some amount of those voting shares, and you as a normal stockholder probably don't get involved in the governance of like publicly traded company, but it's similar, and it makes the process of making decisions and moving forward faster. So if you get these figureheads like Daniel Siesta and the guy who's managing the treasury, who has done a phenomenal job, sold the top of AVAX, I think it's fast. It makes decision making faster. It makes the more nimble. And I like DAOs that are going to do this, but it calls into question, like, is it really a DAO then? If the DAO is just voting to appoint leadership.
Yeah. And I mean, a part of DAOs too, same with time, you've seen Sushi recover some because they're going to be moving the time liquidity to Sushi.
Yeah. I think that probably could have been its own category. These Daniele coins, the way they're playing together in terms of the liquidity from time, with the DEX of Sushi, with the borrowing through Abracadabra and the stablecoin issuance through NIM, creating liquidity for that, like creates a strong ecosystem.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into the last one. We're running a little long. Our favorite topic, NFTs, GameFi, Metaverse. Before we talk about the DeFi Kingdom stuff, do you have opinions about these profile pick NFTs, these mints of 10,000? Are these on the rise, on the fall? There just seems to be hundreds of them coming out every day. There's a new one you could pick on any given network. There are copies of copies of copies.
Yeah. I mean, the ones that are copies, I mean, it's just a blatant cash grab. But the original ones, I feel like we'll continue to see the rise of those. Some of the top ones like Bored Apes, Cyberkongs, those I feel like are going to continue to do well just because of the communities that they've built. I mean, with the Bored Apes, you have Snoop Dogg is one of the owners of a Bored Ape.
Yeah. Do you think where do you draw the line then? So like there's Bored Apes, right? ETH based, and then you jump to AVAX and there's AVAX apes. Like, are AVAX apes still good?
AVAX apes are still good. And I feel like they are the most successful in AVAX. But the whole market for AVAX NFTs, I feel like has really struggled compared to other chains. I mean, Solana had some success. These profile picture NFTs, the most successful ones will be on Ethereum.
And that's just because it's a flex, right? And the most expensive ones are Ethereum. And if you want to flex the most, you're not flexing with your AVAX ape, you're flexing with your ETH-based profile pick one. So
also you have Twitter is integrating the profile picks with Ethereum. So like you would be a verified owner of that on Twitter. So I feel like I'm still bullish on that stuff on Ethereum for sure.
Okay. But not so much the profile picks on other chains.
On other chains, I mean, there are some good ones, but I mean, you'd really have to sift through some garbage to find the good ones on other chains.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about GameFi. DeFi Kingdoms, they're about to release mining. Any risk here? Do you think there's any way they botch this? They saturate the supply of Jewel coming into the market? Like, people are just thrilled about it, but maybe I'm just so negative about everything. I'm just always thinking of this as a risk-based event. Anytime they release anything to prod.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a risk that they could botch it, but I mean, the credibility that the team has built to this point, I mean, they're just crushing it every time. I mean, yeah, some of their releases are delayed, and we've had jokes about it sometimes where it's like, soon, it's coming soon. Any minute.
I mean, I'm excited for mining. They need to keep releasing content. Everything's on the rise. Jule's getting tons of traction. These are still certainly, there's some risk in any of these events. The tavern not working right now, that's awesome. Really love that, you can't buy and sell heroes.
Yeah, the tavern having issues has been a pain. For me, it really shows the growth that is happening. It's outpacing what they're able to do. So, and I mean, the team has been trying to grow as fast as they can. And they've been trying to be accommodating, but I think it's really a testament to how many people want to get involved in DeFi kingdoms. So even though it's a negative, I feel like overall it's still bullish as long as they're able to fix it. Yeah. Which I think they will be able to.
I agree. And price action will tell you that the market agrees as well. Everything in the market has taken a dip. Jewel definitely came down off of its highs, but it had this parabolic rise up to 15. It fell to what, like 12, is up into the mid 13s now. Looks like we're going to attack the all-time high again early in the new year in the first few days. Things just seem real good on the Jewel front. Any other games you're looking into?
The only other ones that I've looked into are Lavana, which I showed you that one. And then I did look in a little bit into that card game, Ender's Gate. That looked a little interesting.
Yeah,
I did think the art was a little cheesy.
I think there's a lot of opportunity for these card games. I was a big Hearthstone, still am a Magic player, and I think there's a lot of promise here. The question is, is Ender's Gate the one? It's on Harmony. It's, further down the list, but maybe if it starts to collect some of that market share from DeFi kingdoms, maybe if Harmony starts to be seen as the gaming chain, this could be one of the first ones on Harmony, but there's other card games out there. And I just don't know if Ender's Gate is the one. We're still certainly early. Game hasn't been released yet. They're targeting January. They've only sold 2 of these legendary cards. All disclosure, I did not buy them. Probably should have. They weren't too expensive. It's one I'm going to be tracking, at least for now.
Yeah, another game that I'm super bullish on, and it's much more of a long-term play because it's a much smaller development team, is Solarbots, and it's on Ethereum. They just had one of the reveals for tanks. All the pictures for the Solarbots for tanks were revealed. So, but it's a very slow-paced project. So it's definitely something that I'm invested in, like long term. It's not something to get into flip, which I think is like really good if you're going to invest in like GameFi. Like you want to get into something that's long term, like not all about the price, because you want to build those communities. You want to have utility for the actual NFTs. Like, I think that's what really has helped DeFi kingdoms. The utility that they have for the NFTs, they level up. You pick the stats. You use items to level up.
Right. You go on quests and you get back real items that have a monetary value in Jewel, which can be converted to dollars or whatever other currency. Like there's a ROI on the NFTs, which some of these profile picture ones, unless they're these like reflect NFTs, they just don't have.
Yeah. And I mean, like with Solarbots, the NFTs emit the governance token, which is similar to, I don't know if you're familiar with CyberKongs, but they emit a token as well. So they emit a token, and I mean, they plan on, for Solarbots, they plan on having guilds and land and crafting and all those things. So I mean, if you're looking at like the long-term viability of a project, I feel like those are the things you want to look for NFTs.
Yep. Cool. DJ Funk, anything else we want to leave our audience with?
Nope, I guess that's about it.
All right, everyone. Happy New Year. Remember, like, subscribe.
Happy
None
New
of this
Year.
was financial advice. Do your own research for entertainment purposes only. And please click on one of the videos that you're going to see linked at the end of this. This is some of our other great content, and we'll keep it coming. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
All right. Peace.